Hi everyone, I'm here to explain the second part regarding general knowledge of legislation in relation to homeopathic pharmacy. As you guys already know, in part 1 video, we have seen about quality of drugs, misbranded drugs, adulterated drugs, spurious drugs, also the most important topics like the Drug and Cosmetics Acts and Rules, manufacture for sale or for distribution of homeopathic medicine considering from 85A to 85I. Now let's get into today's topic, that is the Homoeopathy Central Council Act. We basically can define this as an act to provide for the constitution of Central Council of Homeopathy and maintained of a central register of homeopathy dated to 19 September 1973 under section number 59. Here we will be dealing with the total chapters, which are 5 in number, as they are named Chapter 1 Preliminary, Chapter 2 the Central Council Act and its committees, Chapter 2A regarding the permissions, Chapter 3 is Recognition of Medical Qualifications, Chapter 4 the Central Register of Homeopathy, Chapter 5 is Miscellaneous. Under Chapter 1 we have got to discuss 2 points. They are point number 1, short title, extent and commencement. Regarding this point, likely we discuss about the whole extent of India under which this act is under control, and it shall come into force in a state on such date as a central government may be notification in the official gazette appointing this behalf for such state, and different dates may be appointed for different states and for different provisionals of this act. And point number 2 will be regarding definitions of different kind of words. This goes with the words like board, central council, central register of homeopathy, medical institution, prescribed, recognized medical qualification, regulation, and so on. Now let's get into chapter 2. In this we will discuss about points from number 3 to 12. But the basic concept of chapter 2 will be the Central Council Act and its committees, and now let's start with point number 3, that is the Constitution of Central Council. Here we get to know about such number of members not exceeding 5 as may be determined by the central government in accordance with the provisions of the first schedule from each state in which the state register of homeopathy is maintained, and one member from each university is to be elected among themselves by the members of the faculty of department of homeopathy of that university. And chapter 2.4 is all about mode of election. Here we have like kind of conducting an election, that is under clause A or clause B of section 1 under subsection 1 of section 3 shall be conducted by the central government in accordance with such rules as may be made by it in this behalf. Where any dispute arises regarding any election to the Central Council, it shall be referred to the central government, whose decision shall be final. Now let's move on to point number 5 under this chapter, that is restriction on elections and membership. No person may at the same time serve as a member in more than one capacity, and also the Central Council shall be a body corporate by the name of the Central Council of Homeopathy, having perpetual succession and a common seal with power to acquire, hold and dispose of property, both movable and immovable, and to contract and shall by the said name sue and be sued. Now under chapter 2 point number 6, as I have mentioned earlier, it will be the incorporation of Central Council. Now let's see about point number 7 under this chapter. This will be the term of office of President, Vice President and members of Central Council. It goes like the President and Vice President or a member of the Central Council shall hold office for a term of 5 years from the date of his election or nomination, as the case may be, or until his successor shall have been duly elected or nominated, which even is longer, and shall be deemed to have vacated his seat as if he is absent without any excuse. This will be taken under subsection 1 of section 3 under clause A and also clause B. Now the point number 8 goes with the meetings of Central Council. That the Central Council shall meet at least once in each year at such time and place as many be appointed by the Central Council. Unless otherwise prescribed, 1/3 of the total number of members of the Central Council shall form a quorum, and all the acts of Central Council shall be decided by a majority of the members presented and voting. Now let's deal with point number 9, the Executive Committee and other committees. The Central Council shall constitute from amongst its members an executive committee and such other committees for general or special purposes as the Council deems necessary to carry out the purposes of this Act. And point number 10 deals with the meetings of committees. The committees constituted under Section 9 shall meet at least twice in each year and at such time and place as may be appointed by the Central Council, unless and otherwise prescribed. 1/3 of the total number of members of a committee shall be decided by a majority of the members present and voting. Here we go with the 11th point under this chapter, number 2, that is the officers and other employees of Central Council. Being a basic thing, appoint a registrar who shall also act as secretary to the council. Also employ such other persons as it deems necessary to carry out the purpose of this Act. Last point of chapter 2 will be vacancies in the Central Council and committees, thereof not to invalidate acts. That is, no act or proceeding of the Central Council or any committee thereof shall be called in question on the ground merely of the existence of any vacancy in or any defect in the constitution of Central Council or the committee as the case may be. Under chapter 2a, which is the succeeding chapter of chapter 2, we will be having 12a and 12b. In 12a, we will be discussing about permissions for establishment of new medical institution and new course of study. That is, notwithstanding anything contained in this Act or any other law for the time being in force, no person shall establish a homeopathic medical college or open a new or higher course of study or training which would enable students of each course or training to qualify himself for the award of any recognized medical qualification. Or no person shall be allowed to increase its admission capacity in any course of study or training. And also the Central Council, while making its recommendations under Clause B, subsection 3, and the central government, while passing an order either approving or disapproving the scheme under the subsection 4, shall have due regard to the following factors, namely, whether necessary facilities in respect of staff, equipment, accommodation, such as other facilities to ensure proper functioning of the medical institution or conducting the new course of study or training or accommodating the increased admission capacity have been provided or would be provided within the time limit specified in the scheme. Regarding 12b, we have 3 points, that is dealing with non-recognition of medical qualifications in certain cases. Where any medical institution is established without the previous permissions of the central government in accordance with the provisions of Section 12a, medical qualification granted to any student of such medical institution shall not be deemed or to be recognized medical qualification for the purpose of this Act. And also, where any medical institution increases its capacity in any course of study or training without the previous permission of the central government in accordance with the provisions of Section 12a, medical qualifications granted to any student of such medical institution on the basis of increase in its admission capacity shall not be deemed or to be recognized medical qualification for the purpose of this Act. Now let's start our chapter 3, that is recognition of medical qualifications. In this we will be dealing with different points from point number 13 to point number 20. That is, in short, under point 13 we will be discussing about recognition of medical qualifications granted by certain medical institutions in India, and under point number 14 we will be dealing with recognition of medical qualifications granted by medical institutions in states or countries outside India, and point number 15 we will be dealing with the rights of persons possessing qualifications included in second or third schedule to the enrolled. Point number 16 as denoted power to require information as to courses to study and examination, and point number 17 goes with inspectors at examination, and point number 18 visitors at examination, and 19 deals with the withdrawal or recognition, and chapter 3 last point, that is point number 20, deals with minimum standard of education in homeopathy. In chapter 4 of the Homoeopathic Central Council Act, we will be dealing with the Central Register of Homeopathy. This includes points from 21 to 28 which are equally important. Here we go with point number 21, the Central Register of Homeopathy. Point number 22 is supply of copies of State Register of Homeopathy, followed by registration in the Central Register of Homeopathy. Thereafter, we have professional conduct of members in the council, and also the removal of names from the Central Register of Homeopathy. And point number 26 will be dealing with privileges of persons who are enrolled on the Central Register of Homeopathy. And point number 27 goes with the registration of additional qualifications of the members in the council. Number 28, we'll be discussing the persons enrolled on Central Register of Homeopathy to notify change of place of residence on practice. These are to be noted in detail of every person, each and every information in the register. Under chapter 5, we'll be dealing with the miscellaneous, that is all malpractices that are to be in scope. Here we go from point number 29 to 33. Under point number 29, we have information to be furnished by Central Council and publications thereof. Under this, we'll be dealing with the abstract copies that are published. And under point number 30, we have commissions of inquiry. That is, the central government may require the Central Council to adapt the remedies so recommended within such time as having regard to the report of commission. It may think fit, and if the Central Council fails to comply with any such requirement, the central government may amend the regulation of Central Council or make such provision or order to take such other steps as provision may seem necessary to give effect to the recommendations of the Commission. Point number 31 will be dealing with protection of action taken in good faith. No suit, prosecution or other legal proceedings shall lie against the government, the Central Council or a board or any committee thereof, any officer or servant of the government or the Central Council or the board or the committee aforesaid for anything which is in good faith done or intended to be done under this Act. In point number 32, we have power to make rules. The central government may, by notification in the official gazette, make rules to carry out the purpose of this Act. Every rule made under this section shall be laid as soon as may be after it is made, before each House of Parliament while it is in session, for total period of 30 days, which may be comprised in one session or in 2 or more successive sessions, and if before the expiry of the session, immediately following the session or the successive sessions aforesaid, both houses agree in making any modification in the rule, or both houses agree that the rule should not be made, the rule shall thereafter have effect only in such modified form or be no effect, as the case may be. So, however, that any such modifications or annulment shall be without prejudice to the validity of anything previously done under the rule. And the last point under this chapter will be power to make regulations. The Central Council may, with the previous sanction of the central government, make by notification in the official gazette regulations generally to carry out the purposes of this Act without prejudice to the generality of this power. Such regulations may provide for the manner of election, the management of the property, the resignation of members, powers and duties of the President and Vice President, functions of the committee, tenure of the office and the schemes under it, and also many points regarding the Act. So this is the basic structure of the Act regarding the Homeopathy Central Council. Thank you everyone.